Welcome back to That Dad Guy. It's October 22nd, 2022, and it's a beautiful fall day out today. It's going to reach about 19 degrees Celsius. Might be a good day to get out there and do some yard work, so we'll see if I can get out there and rake some leaves, trim back some vines, do the usual autumn prep that I need to do before winter gets here. That's on the agenda anyways. But what's first on the agenda is answering your questions. So those of you who leave me comments on the end of these videos get their questions answered the following week. So that's what I've done. I've gone back to last week's part 36, and I've got the questions up here on the computer in front of me, and I'm going to go through them and answer as they come. So let's do that. Let's get started. First question comes from Bernardo in Mexico, and he says, new question for you. What kind of food do you like the most? Local food, new exotic food? He says he enjoys Mexican food, but he also loves Oriental food, mainly Japanese, Korean, and Indian food. Have an awesome week. So you have an awesome week too, Bernardo, in Mexico. Yeah, I love food. I'm a foodie. Doesn't have to be local, that's for sure. My favorite right now, I would say, is Korean barbecue. Love that, but enjoy Japanese. My sister and I actually went out for lunch yesterday, and we had some poke bowls, some kind of nice Japanese restaurant, and they were fantastic at a place called Yuzu Sushi here in Moncton. So I might as well give them a plug while I'm on here. So if you're at Yuzu Sushi, you should check them out. They're really good. But yeah, I enjoy all sorts of food. Indian food's fantastic. Mexican food. We probably don't do it as traditional style as you do, Bernardo. So yeah, when I'm in a different country, I like to try different things while I'm there. And I do like sweets. I don't like super sweet things. As you can tell from previous videos, I like donuts. But I like squares, and I like cheesecake and pies and all that sort of stuff. So if there's a chance to get a nice piece of cake or a square when I'm out, I'm going to try to do that if I've got room. Or I'm going to make room, that's for sure. So thank you, Bernardo, for that. All right, the next question comes from Wendy here in Canada, and she says, the cards that you have to send out, are they organized, or do you have to leaf through them looking for the right card for someone every time? So Wendy, what I do is I leaf through them every time. I'm going to show you here. We're going to move the camera. So this is where I keep all of those cards. I used to have them in a small area, but thanks to people like you and other people that have been generous enough to send me cards. So there you can see, maybe I need to get into organizing them more now, put them by lighthouses, by countries, by scenery, by animal, who knows. I know lots of people go into organizing their postcards in a much better way. I kind of have a general sense still. You can see I had quite a few postcards in there that I can send out, but I have a general idea what I have and where it is in that drawer. So if someone says that they're really into trains, I kind of know where my trains are, or if they're into science fiction, I know where the Doctor Who stuff is. But sometimes I do. I just leaf through because I may not have something may not just jump right out as what I want to send for that person. And sometimes it takes leafing through and finding that right card that I've forgotten about along the way. All right. So thank you, Wendy, for that. Next question. Oh, this one comes from Lila in the United States. She says, how many World Postcards Day postcards did you get so far? That's a hard mouthful to say. So this, I actually had to do some research and go in. So first question, how many World Postcard Day postcards did I get so far? I've gotten 26 World Postcard Day cards so far. Second question, she says, is how many different kinds of postcards were there? So I've gotten, of those 26 cards, 19 of them were different. So that's pretty good. I had quite a few of the official postcard this year, but 19 of them were different. The next question was, how many World Postcard Day meetup cards did you get? So of the 26 cards, of which 19 were different, 8 of them were meetup cards. So that was on October 1st. Somewhere in the world, there was a meetup. They put out a card for it, and they sent it out on October 1st. So that's what I had. And then the final question she has in this is, how many countries were represented this year? So to me personally, getting cards, of the 26 World Postcard Day cards that I got, 19 of them were different, 8 of them were meetup cards, and 9 of them came from different countries. I think that's pretty good that I got mail from 9 different countries on World Postcard Day. And because there was 26 cards that were sent, you can see lots of them came from the same country. But that's all right. I'm very proud with receiving any cards each week, let alone that number of cards all thought of me on the October the 1st date that people send cards to me. I sent out 40 of my polo cards that I made, and then I had 9 other World Postcard Day cards that I had available to me. So I sent out 49 that day out into the world. So to get 26 back as surprises, because you're not sending to people that that know you're sending them a card most of the time. There may be some organization in the future where people say, I'd like to get a card on World Postcard Day, and you do that, you set that aside. But this year I just kind of sat down and said, okay, here's 49 people I'm going to send cards to. And I know there's more I could have sent to. And my hands just can only do so much, and my bank account can only do so much. So I'm kind of limiting it. And I may continue to keep that as a limit in that zone. But what I did was I broke it up. I wrote the cards throughout the week and then mailed them all on the 1st to try to make it a little easier for me. All right, so I hope that answers all your questions, Lila. That was a good turnout. I appreciate it. So thank you for that. All right, moving along. The next question comes from Basil in India. He says, how do you plan to celebrate Halloween 2022? Anything other than the usual? Not really. If you've seen my posts in the past, I don't think I put out a video on YouTube about Halloween, and I may do that this year. I have put out short videos on Instagram in the past showing how I decorate the house. So that's what we do. We decorate the house, try to get it kind of eerie and spooky. I have a speaker that plays spooky music for the kids when they come to the door, and most of the kids really appreciate it. There is the odd little one that kind of gets scared, so I feel bad for that. But it's kind of nice too that I've done the effort, and maybe it has made it spooky enough that it's interesting and entertaining for them. And then we usually give out cans of pop and maybe juice boxes or something for the really little ones. We try to, we go to Costco. It's cheaper to buy pop there in big flats, so that's better than buying boxes of candy, which seems to get even more expensive. And kids seem to appreciate it when you come to a house and you get a full-size can of pop. So we want to be the house that people want to come to. So that's what we do each year. In the past, when our kids were younger, our in-laws or my parents would come to the house and they would hand out the candy, and we would walk around the neighborhood with the kids. But as our kids have grown up and moved out of the house, that's not needed anymore. So we get to stay at the door now and hand out the candy, which is kind of fun seeing all the different costumes that come. I know there are lots of countries here that watch that don't celebrate Halloween or do anything for Halloween. So this might be something new for you. So maybe it's worthwhile me putting a little video together to show you what we do. All right, moving on. One more question, I think, here. This one comes from Jonathan. And he says, how do you maintain or document and log your friend swaps, postcards you receive and send? If so, what information do you record? And do you feel it necessary, or if it's all too much effort? I assume the Postcard Crossing website provides a log of all the posts. Yeah. So the last question was anything that you do with Postcrossing. If you send one or you receive one, there is a log for that. So there isn't really a point in recording that, other than the fact that if I'm registering a postcard and there isn't an image of it, I usually take a picture of it and upload it. So I have that on file when people look at my wall and see what postcards I've received and sent. They can see all those pictures. So I do that. Now, as far as going back and answering the questions about what do I do to document my friend swaps? I have a spreadsheet that I write the person's name, the country that they are from, the date in which I sent it, and the type of card that I'm sending, because I want to be able to go back and look through that list and hopefully not duplicate cards that I'm sending to people. I used to keep track too of the number of swaps I did with that person, but I found that kind of irrelevant of having number of swaps. I used to write on the card, this is swap number so-and-so. I don't tend to do that anymore. I don't think it's necessary whether you're swap number 2 with me or swap number 32 with me. For the most part, I don't write that anymore. So that's not a column that I keep track of. I might keep track of it the very first time I swapped. I might put a number 1 in there just kind of to remind me this is a new person. But I am trying to back away a little bit from swaps. The ones that I have maintained since I started, I'm going to continue maintaining, but people reaching out to swap with me, I'm less and less likely right now to do it because it's becoming too much more work and more expensive to do that. As this channel grows, unfortunately, there are some things that I'm going to have to change about my interactions. And so that's one of the ones is that I'm going to have to limit the number of new swaps that I do because it just gets too expensive. So I'm sure lots of you can relate with that. I know some of other YouTubers that are doing swaps or are talking about post-crossing are doing less swaps as well. Because there are lots of people out there that watch and say, oh, hey, would you mind swapping with me? And if you did it with everyone, it would be so expensive and so time consuming. We all have lives and families and work and things to do. And this is just a hobby for us. We don't get paid for, or at my level, we don't get paid for doing YouTube. This is just a fun way to communicate, talk about the hobby, talk about things that we're doing in our lives. And so that's what we do it for, Jonathan. So hopefully that answers your question. And answers everybody's questions this week. I appreciate you guys all leaving your comments. If you've got new questions, leave them in the body of this episode, and I'll answer them next week. And who knows? Maybe next week I'm even going to look at doing something a little bit different, where it's Halloween coming up. One of the things I used to do with the kids and their friends is I used to get them to tell me a verb or an adjective or a place name or a person's name, and I would put all those facts together and create a random story. So that's something I've kind of been thinking about doing, whether it's a spooky story for Halloween or whatever it is. It's an idea out there, so I may do it just to entertain me, if at nothing else. It's something that I might do. We'll see. But it's an idea that's going through my head, and I'd love to hear your comments on it. So that's all I got for now. There's other things that we've got to do this weekend, and hopefully you guys have good weather wherever you are, and you're going to have some fun to do. So have a magical week. What, Polo? You say like, subscribe, share, and tell all your friends.
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?